No matter what today brings, tomorrow it's gonna be a little better. Next week it's gonna be a little better. Next month I'm gonna feel a whole lot better. Next year it's gonna be a little better. You know what I mean? Like,
who taught you that?
Myself.
About to sit down with an incredible woman who God just dropped in my lap one day. As I was preparing to launch this channel, there were highs and there were lows. I wasn't sure if I could pull this off. Everybody I talked to about the idea seemed really excited about it, but then I would have trouble scheduling interviews. People just couldn't fit it into their schedule. All the signs seemed to be saying, forge ahead, but then road bumps would pop up. I began to have doubts. I worried, could I find enough women to interview? Would their stories be varied and different enough? So on the morning of my very first shoot, I woke up and I couldn't turn my head. All the stress I'd been feeling had settled in my neck and shoulders, where it usually settles, and I was in a lot of pain. So, before I headed off to the shoot, I called the massage place and said, get me an appointment with anybody, I don't care who it is, just as quickly as possible. So a few days later, I wander into the massage place. I meet a woman I've never met before. So as I'm laying face down on her table, we're chatting, getting to know each other. She's a lovely ray of light with such a positive attitude. Then all of a sudden, she gets around to telling me that she wrote a book. I sat there and I thought to myself, I wonder how old she was when she wrote this book. So I asked her. When she told me late 40s, I got a butterfly in my stomach and kind of giggled to myself and said, thank you, God, I hear you. You're not gonna believe what she said to me next. We'll get to that later. But needless to say, I ran home, ordered her book on Amazon, read her book that night, and called and made the next available appointment with her so that I could tell her about my idea for a channel that featured women just like her. I can't wait for you to hear her amazing stories because she is definitely rocking her next chapter. Welcome to We're Not Dead Yet. Thanks for meeting me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really think that God dropped you in my life. First, I want you to tell everyone, if you remember, we talked about when I was laying face down on your table and having my little silent conversation with God, a story you happened to tell me just after.
Oh, about a conversation I had with my son about me having conversations with God, and it wasn't like verbatim me talking to God and hearing a voice. It was instinctual intuitions over time of me talking and asking God certain questions and certain things.
Yeah.
And like I may have talked to some random person, and for some reason it was on that subject of what I talked to God about, or I may have read something and it was on that subject of what and it was like an answer.
Yeah.
So it's like, or certain things that happen that leads me a certain way as far as my intuitions that guide me a certain way, and it's like I know that was like God telling me. So it's like that conversation between us.
And so you were having a conversation with me that day.
Right,
saying,
right.
You can do this.
Exactly.
Here's this lady telling you can do this.
And that was our first meeting.
Yeah.
That was the first time we met.
Yeah.
I remember.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like.
So you wrote a book.
Right.
And I read it. You are a great storyteller. It's not a fun story.
Right.
It's a hard story to read about some bad stuff that happens to a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
What what drove you to write it? What made you want to write it?
At first, the reason was therapeutic for myself, and to kind of like give my boys some understanding of mom, you know.
Yeah.
And then it kind of took a brain of its own, you know, after a certain time. But it was the basis behind it from the beginning was just therapeutic. I needed to get some things out of my system, and I needed to forgive. It was.
And you say in the book, not necessarily forgive others, but forgive yourself.
Yeah. If all the forgiving to them is for yourself.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when you hold grudges and you feel a certain way toward a person, honestly, if you really look at the big picture, they can care less.
It only hurts you.
Hurt you. So once you forgive them, you're forgiving. You know, you're relieving a lot of stress and pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's about yourself, honestly. You should be kind of selfish when you forgive.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And did it work?
Oh yeah. It worked. It worked big time. Honestly, I forgave a lot before I wrote the book, and the book was kind of hard to write. It was really hard to write.
I'm sure.
But it was more. It kind of helped me to forgive, and to kind of like ease the pain of the trauma.
Yeah.
And live life. Move forward.
Okay, so you told me before that you didn't go to college. What gave you the confidence that, hey, I can write a book. I'm gonna write a book.
This is funny. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, because when you don't know you can't do something, there's nothing there to stop you.
Gotcha.
You know,
that's amazing.
Like I never really looked at myself as being an author. I just wanted to write a book. I wanted to write this story.
You wanted to tell your story.
Yeah. And I never, like a lot of things that I found out since I've written this book, it probably would have put fear in me if I found it out before. But ignorance is bliss to a certain point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about, you said that the first reason was selfish, therapeutic for you, and for your boys to know, but then it took on a life of its own. So what is that life of its own? What's the second reason that it's important to you now? Honestly,
now the whole story that I want to relate is to parents, you know, of little ones. Just sometimes a question will open up a whole lot, you know. Sometimes just a simple question will stop a whole lot, you know, will prevent a whole lot from going on in, you know, life in certain households.
So like just awareness for families.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Total awareness.
And you also mentioned that you're hoping your story will help young women, like see that
they don't have to be a product of their environment,
right?
And you're not where you came from,
right? Because
you can be whatever you want to be. Honestly, like it sounds like that little kid. You can be the president, but you can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to let where you came from define you.
Right. Because you were raised in the projects of Miami, basically, and it was. I mean, you know, I think we can all imagine what it might be like to live in the projects anywhere.
It wasn't all so bad, but
no, it looked like you had some good friends.
Yeah,
you had some people that loved you.
Right.
But it was some rough.
It was the projects.
Some rough times.
Right.
I mean, aside from
not just the living
full
environment.
disclosure, you suffered sexual abuse from a very young age.
Right.
But you were also surrounded by people cutting each other and shooting each other.
I was surrounded by a lot of chaos, but it was chaotic, but it was something that kind of make you stronger, and once you see that side, your whole goal, and you strive to see the other side. Like, I already know what all that's about. You know what I mean? I had to know.
I wanted to read a couple things that you say in the beginning of this book that just amazed me, that somebody who could live through all that could be this positive of a human being. You say, you see, diamonds are nothing more than rocks put under pressure and fire, basically put through hell, and they come out shining. I love that. And that you can see what you went through and see positivity out of it is
always seen the other side. I've always seen further than where I was at, like where I'm at. Like the negativity when I'm in a state or something, for some reason, I mean, you dwell in it, but for some reason I've always seen it pass. Because I've always felt like no matter what today brings, tomorrow it's gonna be a little better. Next week it's gonna be a little better. Next month I'm gonna feel a whole lot better. Next year it's gonna be a little better. You know what I mean? Like,
who taught you that?
Myself. I mean, you had to think of certain. You had to
survival skills.
Play with your mind when you was going through certain things at a certain age.
Survival skills.
Right. You had to kind of.
So so you were surrounded by. Some of your friends went into prostitution. You knew drug dealers. How in the world did you come out a responsible adult? And you're the.
I mean, just like my mom used to always say, you don't have to be a product of your environment. You don't have to,
Yeah.
She used to always use this term. Just because you're from the projects don't mean you got to be from the projects. The projects is in me.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be from the projects.
But a lot of people don't survive what you survived.
Right.
That's for sure. And that, you said that that's one thing that you hoped that this book could do, is show other young women that they don't have to be a product of their environment.
Right. And you can think for yourself, especially a lot of young women right now. You have a lot of followers. A lot of them want to fit in a certain category. Mm-hmm. And I feel so bad for them. Because they just don't know. They just don't know.
So now becoming an author wasn't your first reinvention. And I just learned this, that you weren't always a massage therapist either.
Right.
So what was your first career?
Well, I wouldn't call it a career. I would call it my first love, music.
Oh, okay.
And I was signed onto a record label in Miami called #1 Records. It's a little known secret, kept secret about myself. A few friends and family know about it, but not a lot of people. Casey from Casey and the Sunshine Band, he owned the label, and I was one of the first females signed to his label.
Did you make a record?
Yeah. It's on YouTube right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I gotta
send it to you.
That's awesome.
I'll send it to you.
So, what took you out of music?
Honestly, it was like kind of a big thing. We had a party on South Beach. We had an album release party because it was like numerous artists collab together and on one album. Mm-hmm. And we had an album release party. But at the time, I was pregnant with my son, and the label didn't want me to have the pregnant image. Didn't want me. But a couple of my songs were like hot on the college scene, college radio.
That's so cool.
At the time, it was pretty cool.
That's so cool. So, tell me about what got you interested in massage therapy then.
Okay. Going through the Sunday evening depression, what I would call it. One Mother's Day, my two boys got together. I have two sons, Corey and Shane. and they got me a massage for a Mother's Day gift. So I went in, I got a massage, and I felt so good. Like I've never felt like that, the euphoric feeling before. And I asked the guy, I was like, do everybody feel like this afterwards? And he was like, well, you know, I tried. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I walked out of that building, I think I saw the color of the wind. I felt so good. Like I felt like, I never felt like that. So I went home, I told my son, I was like, I think I figured it out. He was like, what? I was like, I'm gonna be a massage therapist. So my oldest was like, yeah, right. So about a month and a half later, he came home. I had went to school, signed up, got my books, got my table. So he came home, he saw everything sitting in the corner. He was trying to figure it out, like, what's this? I didn't say anything, I just let him look at the books. And he was like, oh, you were serious. So needless to say, after that, they had my table kind of set up, and they were kind of like my crash dummies every day. So I kind of like experimented on them with
lucky them
in school.
Lucky them. That's funny. And what age were you then when you did that?
When I decided to go back to school, I was 38. No, yeah, I was 38. Yeah, so it's been 12 years. I thought it was 13, it's been 12 years.
So that was reinvention number 2.
Right.
And then, and you're writing another book. And what is that one going to be about?
The second book, a lot of my friends and some of my family members asked me if I was going to pick up from where I left off with that book, but I'm actually not going to, because like I said, the conversations with God has just been taking over. And I've been paying attention to them. And it's been so many like overwhelming things that's taking place in my life in the past maybe 7, 8 years.
You've had a rough few years.
Yeah.
A rough few years.
Yeah. The past 2 years has been the worst.
It started with one of the first problems was you separating from your boy's dad.
Yeah. It was like 1 year after the next.
And then you had some health problems.
Something was taking place, yeah.
And then tell us about your son.
It was like the first year we separated. The second year, I had to have major surgery. The third year, my youngest son had major surgery. The fourth year, I lost one of my favorite cousins and my dad. The fifth year, I thought everything was like just gonna be the best because I wrote and published my first book.
It's gotta get better.
Yeah, it's like that fifth year, I was like, okay, things is getting better. And 5 months after I wrote and published my first book, I lost my son. And good thing I've been journaling since then, because had I not been journaling, the past 2 years would have been a blur. So since 2019, I've been just trying to get a grip.
Yeah. Well, I know that it has to be hard. I lost my brother, so I'm the daughter of a mom who lost her son. I know how hard that is.
Yeah.
But I met you and you were this ray of light. How do you keep the darkness away? How do you stay so positive and filled with light when you're, struggling with grief?
The part of my life about I see things further in the future, now that's been put to test. You know?
Yeah.
I just trust and believe that there's a higher being, this higher spirit. I believe in God.
What advice do you have for mothers who lose a child What advice would you give, or comfort would you give?
Oh God. The people that are around you, that love you, love on them. Because, like, there's nothing, no one, like, there's nothing that could take the place of that child, or, you know, the love that a mother has for that child, or a parent has for it. But the pain is so deep till you gotta grab onto the love that's around you. You have to, because if you don't, you'll find yourself on the suicide hotline.
Mm-hmm. What did they think about you writing the book?
It's so funny that they were all like, my one friend in Florida, Veronica, she's a nurse. She's like, that's a good book. They all pretty proud, you know.
I bet they are.
They're all pretty proud.
Deborah,
Yes, ma'am.
this is the part I like to call happy hour. Let's lighten the mood.
Toast to positive vibes.
Positive vibes. So tell me more about, do you still, or do you have, I mean, we live in Atlanta, it's rap city. You don't have any involvement with it?
No, I left that to my boys. My oldest son, you know, before he passed, he was getting deep into the music thing. I have pictures he sent me when he just got some new equipment and new microphone. You know.
Yeah.
He tried to get me into it, which, you know, I was thinking about it as a joke. You know, at this age, come on.
We're not dead yet.
Right. And why is it that hip hop is the only genre of music that has an age limit? You know, it's the only.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to, but
I mean, you think about it.
it does.
It doesn't have an age limit for the men.
Right. But it does. It doesn't, but it does.
So tell me about your two songs.
Okay. One was called, don't laugh. One was called Ride My Body.
Ride My Body, okay.
And the second was called Why Baby Why.
Why, baby, why?
Yeah. And the Ride My Body was the one that was kind of hot on the college scenes.
Sounds like something that would be out.
Right. Right.
What's your secret? What do you do to take care of yourself?
My secret is Katie at Massage Envy.
Is that true?
Yes. She is my secret.
Facials?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's my secret. That's my little secret. I can't tell you all, but she's my secret.
Well, what? So you didn't always have beautiful skin?
I did, but you know,
like-
everybody go through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hormones and that type of stuff. But yeah. But overall, she's, you know.
She takes care of you.
Yeah. I don't really use much, just moisturizer.
Yeah?
Moisturize.
Moisturize.
Yes.
Moisturize. It works. It works. And you work out, you told me.
Yeah. Sweat has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
You know? Little pores.
How many days a week do you work out?
I've been slacking lately, but you know, on the average, maybe 3 days, 4 days a week.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you like
Trying
to
to get
do?
something, a lot of cardio. I don't feel like I did anything if I don't run or if I don't jump rope, something to get that heart rate up. To go in there and just do sit-ups or just do work on the abs or work on the legs. Like, I gotta get that heart rate up.
I just started running, like I was about 4 to 6, probably. I started running for the first.
And you run, like, run. See, I don't do that type of run. I would love to.
You
but
can. You can. I couldn't run a block at
See,
age
that's me.
46. I could not run a block.
I run stop.
And before I got injured a couple years ago, I was training for a half marathon. I got up to about, was my longest run? Maybe 10 miles was my longest run, probably. But I got injured and then that set me back. But yeah.
Okay.
But I love it now. And I did it because when I got in my 40s with premenopause and you know, zero metabolism.
Oh my God.
And I was,
who you telling?
Who you telling? And I was like, I couldn't see another way that could burn the same number of calories, you know, as quick. So that's why I started teaching myself how to run. And it's been helpful. It allows me to have margaritas.
right. Allows you to have those cheat days without really feeling like you're cheating.
It allows me to have margaritas and keeps me in the lifestyle to which I've become accustomed.
And keeps you beautiful.
Aw, thanks. You're sweet. You're sweet. As are you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with me and my viewers today.
Thank you for having me.
You've lived an amazing life, and it hasn't been easy, but I think, gosh, and you inspire me. What an inspiration. And I just knew that God put me there on that day to meet you, because I think others are meant to meet you and hear your story and see the light that I see. I really do.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Awesome.
Awesome.